For the past couple of years, there have been a few of you who have requested that I go into detail about some of the movies behind me and do yet another Blu-ray collection video. I don't know if you guys realize how many movies I have behind me. This is gonna take a while. So, starting off from the very beginning, we have 3:10 to Yuma, 8 Mile, 10 Cloverfield Lane, 21 Jump Street, 28 Days Later, directed by Danny Boyle, probably one of my favorite zombie movies, 42, 50-50, 300, 500 Days of Summer, one of my favorite rom-coms. This isn't a terribly romantic movie. It's kind of the opposite of that, but I love it nonetheless. 2001: A Space Odyssey, and The Accountant. Akira, The Adderall Diaries, Airplane, one of my favorite comedies of all time, Air Force One, Aladdin, also one of my favorite Disney movies, Alice in Wonderland, Alien, one of my favorite science fiction films of all time, Aliens, Alien Resurrection, Alien 3, directed by
David Fincher,
Prometheus, a movie that I really like, and I understand why a lot of people don't like it as much, Alien Covenant, Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, the worst movie in the Alien series, All Is Lost, Amelie, American Animals. If you haven't seen this, really recommend it. It's super, super fun. American Beauty, a movie that I probably can never watch ever again for the rest of my life. American Psycho, one of my favorite films. American Gangster, American Graffiti, American History X, American Hustle, American Ultra, American Sniper, The Amityville Horror, Anomalisa, Anchorman 1 and Anchorman 2, Annabelle, Annihilation, Ant-Man as well as Ant-Man and the Wasp, The Aristocats, Apollo 13, The Apartment, one of my favorite films of all time, Argo, Arrival, one of the best science fiction films of this century, and The Art of Self-Defense, one of my favorite movies of last year. The Artist, a movie I enjoy, but there's no way in hell it deserves Best Picture. Atomic Blonde, the Austin Powers trilogy, Avatar, a movie that I think is totally average and I can go the rest of my life without seeing a sequel to it. And then we have Avengers 1, Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers Infinity War, as well as Avengers Endgame. The Babadook, directed by Jennifer Kent, one of the best horror movies and one of the best movies of the decade. Babel, Baby Driver, the Back to the Future trilogy, and then we also have Bad Boys 1 and 2. Bad Words. Get ready for a shit ton of Batman movies. Whew, okay. We have Batman the movie, Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders, the original 4 Batman movies with Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin, a guilty pleasure of mine, something that I think is highly underrated. We have the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy with Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. And it's not a movie, but I love this copy that I have of Batman, the complete animated series on Blu-ray. It has Batman Sub-Zero and The Mask of the Phantasm with it, but I also have another copy of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, what is, in my opinion, the best Batman movie of all time. We have Batman Year 1, as well as Batman The Dark Knight Returns Part 1, as well as Part 2. And then closing out the Batmans, we have Batman The Killing Joke, a movie that I enjoy about half of. Then we have Batman Under the Red Hood, what is one of the best Batman animated movies. And then we have Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, a movie that I bought solely because I wanted to watch the Ultimate Edition, you know, because I'm a sucker. Battle of the Sexes, Beauty and the Beast. Beetlejuice, one of my favorite movies of all time. We've come for your daughter, Chuck. And then we have The Beguiled, as well as the Sofia Coppola The Beguiled. Beasts of the Southern Wild. Better Watch Out. Big Hero 6. The Big Lebowski. This is actually a really cool, like, limited edition copy. There's like a little tiny little book in here. The Big Short. The Big Sick. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Birdman. Body of Lies, well, I think what is probably Ridley Scott's worst movie. Blazing Saddles. Black Mass. Black Panther. Black Sheep. Black Swan, directed by Darren Aronofsky, one of my favorite films from him, and one of my favorite movies from the 2010s. Blade. Blade Runner, The Final Cut, as well as Blade Runner 2049, a incredibly underseen movie. The Blues Brothers. Then we have the James Bond Collection, which has every single film released in the James Bond series up until, I believe, Spectre, which I also own. And then I also have the original Casino Royale, as well as Never Say Never Again. We have the entire Bourne trilogy, as well as Bourne Legacy and Jason Bourne, a movie that I was pretty disappointed in. Then we have Booksmart, one of my favorite movies of last year. The Book of Eli. And Boondock Saints, like 12-year-old me's like favorite movie. And then Border, a really underseen film. If you haven't seen this movie, I really recommend that you do so. I'm pretty sure that it's on Hulu. If you haven't seen it, definitely give it a watch. It's awesome. We have Boyhood, probably one of the more overrated movies that came out in that decade. We have Brawl in Cell Block 99. We have Breakfast at Tiffany's, a movie that I really love, and then I really hate some of it. If you've seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. The Breakfast Club. Bridesmaids. Brigsby Bear, one of my favorite movies of all time. Ang Lee's Brokeback Mountain. Brooklyn. Bruce Almighty. Bridge of Spies. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Bull Durham. Bullet. The Burbs. Buried. Burn After Reading. The Butler. Cabin in the Woods, an awesome horror comedy. The Campaign. We have the Captain America trilogy with Captain America the First Avenger, Captain America the Winter Soldier, as well as a Captain America Civil War. We have Captain Marvel, Captain Fantastic, Carol, Carrie, Casablanca, Castaway, Catch Me If You Can, one of my favorite Steven Spielberg movies. Cellular, wow. Cellular, Central Intelligence, Children of Men, one of my favorite science fiction films. Children of the Corn. Then I have this original Christmas classics, which has Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Frosty the Snowman, and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. A Christmas Story. Christmas Vacation, my favorite Christmas movie. Chronicle. And Citizen Kane, another movie that has this kind of special edition 70th anniversary. Got a nice little booklet in there for some nice pictures and some tidbits about the film. Then I have this Blu-ray combo pack with Clash of the Titans, both of them with the original and the Sam Worthington version. The only reason that I bought this is so I could have the original, because growing up, it was one of my favorite movies. Then we've got Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, a super, super funny movie. If you liked Spider-Verse, I recommend seeing this film. It's really funny. The 30th anniversary of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Cloverfield. Clown, Eli Roth produced Clown. It's pretty bad, but it's kind of crazy. Cobra. Coco, one of my favorite Pixar movies. Michael Mann's Collateral, my favorite Tom Cruise movie, and it's a movie that the poster of has been hung in my dorm room ever since freshman year. Colossal, it's got this kind of nice lenticular case. Coming to America, a movie that has the name McDowell in it, so that's kind of neat. Commando, let off some steam, Dylan. What do you guys think? Pretty good impression? I don't think so. Con Air, Conan the Barbarian, as well as The Conjuring. Then we have The Conjuring Part 2, Contagion, Coraline, one of my favorite animated movies, Courage Under Fire, Cool Hand Luke, one of my favorite classic films. Then we have the Cornetto trilogy, which has The World's End, Hot Fuzz, and Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead being one of the best zombie movies of all time, if not the best. Then we have Hot Fuzz, one of my favorite comedies of all time. And then The World's End, which is super, super fun. Crank, speaking of movies that are really fun. Creed, a movie that I did not expect to like as much as I did. We have Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The Crow, Cujo, The Curious Case for Benjamin Button, and A Cure for Wellness. The Da Vinci Code, never seen this movie and maybe never will, who knows. Again, not a movie, but I have season 1 of Daredevil on Blu-ray. Darkman, Dawn of the Dead, my favorite Zack Snyder film by like a lot. The Day After Tomorrow, Dead Poet Society, one of my favorite Robin Williams performances. And then we have Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2. I love the first one and I like the second one. Days of Thunder, Grindhouse's Death Proof, Deepwater Horizon, The Descent, a really fun claustrophobic horror movie. If you like horror and you haven't seen it, really recommend that you do so. Deliverance, The Departed, Despicable Me, Devil, and the Die Hard series, excluding the 5th film, because that movie's balls. District 9, Dirty Harry, another movie that has like a little booklet in there. I think I found this at a pawn shop of all places. The Disaster Artist, Django Unchained, Dodgeball, Don John, Don't Breathe, Donnie Darko, Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strangelove, the 45th anniversary. And there's like, again, a little book in there. Drive, Dragon, Dread, Dumb and Dumber, one of my favorite comedies. Those your skis? Both of them. Dune, I'm really excited to see what Denis Villeneuve will do with this. I haven't seen this movie, but I probably will before he releases his remake of it. Eastern Promises has the best naked fight scene that you will ever see in movies. The 40th anniversary of Easy Rider, yet again, another movie that has like a little book in there. Edge of Darkness, Edge of 17, Edward Scissorhands, one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Tomorrow, or All You Need Is Kill, whichever you prefer to call it. I don't really care. It's an awesome movie. Bo Burnham's 8th Grade, one of my favorite films of that year. Elf, End of Watch, The Equalizer, Enemy of the State, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies. Everything Must Go. I have the Evil Dead series with Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, The Army of Darkness, as well as Fede Alvarez Evil Dead, Ex Machina, as well as The Exorcist, the special edition of which again, another movie that has a little book in there. The Expendables Part 1 and Part 2. The only reason that I have this movie is because it was the first film that I ever bought on Blu-ray. Eye in the Sky, Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. Haven't seen this yet. I'm really looking forward to the day that I do. Face Off. I could eat a peach for hours. Fargo. And then I have the entire Fast and Furious collection. It comes like in this little tire. I think it has everything up to Fate of the Furious, which I don't really like any of these movies, but I found this collection at a pawn shop. I think it was like $20 for all of them, which I thought was a pretty good deal. So I bought it. That's not true. I like Fast 5. That's a good movie, but the rest of them, take it or leave it. I don't really care. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, one of my favorite 80s comedies. Faster. And then again, not a movie, but I have the Family Guy Star Wars parodies with Blue Harvest, Something Dark Side, and It's a Trap. I like these movies, or these little TV animated movies, or whatever you want to call them. I think they're probably one of the better deconstructions of the Star Wars saga and kind of a parody of it. And speaking of Star Wars, we have Fanboys, and we have Fantastic Four as well as Fant4stick. The only reason I have this movie is for the laughs. Fantastic Mr. Fox, Le Femme Nikita, The Fifth Element, Fight Club, The Firm, Flash, Flatliners, Flight. I have the original 1950s The Fly, as well as the Jeff Goldblum The Fly, the David Cronenberg version, one of my favorite horror movies. Frankenstein, The French Connection, as well as the entire Friday the 13th collection and Friday the 13th, the 2009 film. 2009, definitely said 2009. Frost Nixon, Frozen, Fruitvale Station, Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, Fury, The Fugitive, I Didn't Kill My Wife, I Don't Care, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Foxcatcher, Gamer, I think I found this movie, I don't even think I paid for it, Garden State, Gentleman's Agreement, my favorite film from Gregory Peck, Get Out, one of my favorite horror films of the 21st century, G.I. Joe Retaliation, Ghost in the Shell Steelbook Edition, Ghostbusters, The Gift, as well as The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gareth Edwards' Godzilla, Gladiator, Gone Girl, there's this cool little book inside of Amazing Amy. Then we have Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, as well as The Godfather Part 2. I prefer Part 1. Haven't seen Part 3. I would like to watch it, but I'm not going to buy it until I watch it. Then we have Gone with the Wind, a movie that I respect, but I don't particularly care for. Good Will Hunting, my favorite Robin Williams movie. Goodfellas. Goosebumps, a surprisingly fun kids movie. If you have young kids, I think this is a good one to watch around Halloween time. The Graduate. The Grand Budapest Hotel, my favorite Wes Anderson movie. And Gravity. Grease, one of my favorite musicals. The Great Gatsby. Green Lantern. Green Room, really awesome thriller. Again, watch it if you haven't. I think it's on Netflix. Green Zone. Gremlins. I've seen this movie, but it's been a really long time, and I've been wanting to rewatch it. I think I might give it a rewatch. Groundhog Day, Guardians of the Galaxy Part 1 as well as Part 2, The Guest, Hacksaw Ridge, Halloween, required viewing for me on Halloween every single year, Hang 'em High, The Hangover, The Happening, what? No. Hardcore Henry, the complete Harry Potter collection. For those of you wondering, my favorite Harry Potter film is The Half-Blood Prince. The Hateful Eight. Michael Mann's Heat. Heathers. What's your damage, Heather? We never did find out. Hell or High Water. Hellboy Part 1 and Hellboy The Golden Army. Her. Hereditary, one of my favorite horror films of all time. Can't get enough of this movie. Hidden Figures. Highlander. The Alfred Hitchcock Collection. This movie has Rear Window, Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, and The Birds. Hocus Pocus. Horrible Bosses. And then Hostel Part 1 and Part 2. Again, I think I found it at a pawn shop. Don't really care for these movies, but I think it was $2 for both of them. Home Alone. Look What You Did, You Little Jerk. Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Another movie that I watch every single year around Christmas time. I know it's not a great film, but I love it so much. How to Marry a Millionaire. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And then we have Hunger Games Part 1 and The Hunger Games Catching Fire. The Hurt Locker. Hustle and Flow, The Hustler, The Imitation Game, I Am Legend, I, Robot, In the Heat of the Night, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, this would probably be over there, In Time, The Iceman, The Incredible Hulk, probably the most underrated MCU movie. I like this film a lot. The Incredibles, my favorite Pixar movie. Independence Day. And then we have the Indiana Jones series with Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Temple of Doom, The Last Crusade, and The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I like 3 of those movies. Inglourious Bastards and Inside Out, one of my favorite Pixar movies. The Intern, Interview with a Vampire, Insidious Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. The Isle of Dogs, The Interview. We almost went to war over this movie. You guys remember that shit? Iron Giant. If you haven't seen this movie, shame on you. We have Iron Man Part 1, Iron Man Part 2, and then Iron Man 3. In Bruges. Inception. Seen it? It's been a long time. I'd like to rewatch it now that I'm a bit older. I think the last time that I saw this movie, I was like 11. So yeah, I'd like to give this a rewatch sometime. Inherent Vice, excuse me. Inside Llewyn Davis, one of my favorite Oscar Isaac movies. If you haven't seen it, it's a great Coen Brothers film. Interstellar, not my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. Ip Man, not a movie, but I have the miniseries It, Stephen King's It, as well as the It movie. I'd like to buy Chapter 2, even though I don't love it, but I would like to have the set. It Follows. It Comes at Night. The Italian Job. It's a Wonderful Life. You want the moon? I'll tie a lasso around it and pull it down to you. What's my worst impression, guys? Down in the comments. Is it Jimmy Stewart, Arnold Schwarzenegger? I don't know. We have a lot of movies left. Jack Reacher. The Jackal. Jackie Brown. My favorite Steven Spielberg movie, Jaws. John Carter. The Jungle Book, the remake, the Jon Favreau remake. Juno. Jurassic Park. Jurassic World, ew, gross. It was a gift. Jurassic Justice League, Flashpoint Paradox, Jurassic League. I would love to see it. Justice League, The New Frontier, also one of my favorite Justice League animated movies, and I really love the Darwin Cook comic. One of the best action series of all time with John Wick Chapter 2, and John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. I got a little bit of William Shatner in there for some reason. Kick-Ass, Killing Them Softly, King Kong, The Kingdom, Night and Day, Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Knocked Up, Kong Skull Island, Kingsman: The Secret Service, Kubo and the Two Strings, Labyrinth, The Last Samurai, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Krampus, super fun Christmas movie, The Last Mohican, Leaving Las Vegas, La La Land, Lady Bird, one of my favorite coming-of-age movies, Lawless, Lion. If you haven't seen this movie, you should watch it. It'll make you cry. We have the Lego Batman movie and the Lego Movie. Speaking of movies that'll make you cry, Life is Beautiful, Life Itself, the Roger Ebert documentary, Life of Pi, Lights Out, To Live and Die in L.A., Lone Survivor, Looper, Rian Johnson, really like this movie. The Lord of the Rings 3 film collection. I don't have the extended cuts or the ultimate cuts or whatever they're called because I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I know, I'm sorry. They're just not really movies for me. I think that they're pretty good, so the theatrical original version, that's good enough for me. Mad Max, as well as The Road Warrior and Mad Max Fury Road, one of the greatest action movies of all time. The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Man on Fire, Man of Steel, and Mandy. This movie is bananas. The Martian. The Matrix. I need guns. Lots of guns. The Master. Mean Streets. Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. The Mechanic. Meet the Parents. Memento, one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies. Men in Black. Men in Black 3, again, it was a gift. The Men Who Stare at Goats. Midnight Special. Midsummer or Midsommar. Miracle on 34th Street, the original. Misery, one of my favorite Stephen King movies. Then we have the Mission Impossible 5 movie collection, as well as Mission Impossible Fallout. The Mummy Steelbook. Moana. Moneyball. Moon, what I think is the best movie of that decade. A Most Violent Year. Mother. Moulin Rouge. Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Miss Doubtfire. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. This would probably be by Mr. and Mrs. Smith, shouldn't it? Mud. The Mummy Trilogy. Napoleon Dynamite. Near Dark. Neighbors. The Nice Guys. The Night Manager. I think this is like a mini series. I've never seen it, but I think yeah, 6-part mini series. Never seen it. Should I give it a watch, guys? What do you think? Night of the Living Dead, one of the greatest zombie movies of all time. Nightcrawler. The Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare on Elm Street, the entire collection. So it's got Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Freddy's Dead, and New Nightmare. And then I also have the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. It's not very good, but you got to have the whole set, I guess. And then I've got also Freddy vs. Jason, which is a lot of fun. No Country for Old Men. Nocturnal Animals. Non-Stop. Oblivion. Only God Forgives. Ocean's 11, probably my favorite heist movie. Oculus. Old School. Olympus Has Fallen. London Has Fallen. The Other Guys. Outbreak. Ouija, Origin of Evil. Pacific Rim. Excuse me. Pacific Rim. Paddington. I need to buy Paddington 2. Such a great movie. Pan's Labyrinth. The Patriot. Patriots Day, as well as A Charlie Brown Christmas and the Peanuts movie. And then I have the Holiday Collection. So it's got a Charlie Brown Christmas. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown and a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. Phantom Thread. The original Planet of the Apes. The Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, and then I have the entire trilogy with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Pineapple Express. Piranha. This movie is weird and crazy and fun. Pitch Perfect. Pinocchio. Premium Rush. Pretty Woman. Princess Bride, As You Wish. Office Space. Pirates of the Caribbean Part 1 and Part 2. No other Pirates of the Caribbean movies are made, so why own them? Point Break, one of the best action movies of the 90s. This movie is so much fun. Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. Really funny comedy. If you haven't seen it, douche though. The Post. And then I have the Predator triple feature collection with Predator, Predator 2, and Predators. The Prestige, one of, if not my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. Princess Mononoke. Prom Night. Project X, this movie is crazy. It's a really fun guilty pleasure. Pulp Fiction. This is an old DVD case that I have, but the reason that I kept it is because there's like this Jackrabbit Slims menu in it, and it wouldn't fit in the Blu-ray case that I bought, and I didn't want to get rid of it, so I just kept it in there. A Quiet Place. Raging Bull. Public Enemies. The Raid and The Raid Part 2. And then Rambo, First Blood, and Rambo 3. I would like to buy the second Rambo movie as well as the reboot, but I haven't come across them yet at like a reasonable price. Julia Ducournau's Raw, one of my favorite foreign films of this past decade. Ray. Reanimator, as well as this special edition copy, Arrow video copy of Reanimator. There's a ton of really fun bonus material in this. One of my favorite Blu-rays that I own. Red. Run All Night, Runner, Roadhouse, RoboCop and the RoboCop remake, Red Dawn, as well as Season 1 of Rick and Morty, Reservoir Dogs, The Revenant, The Ring, Risky Business, Rock and Rolla, Rumble in the Bronx, The Rundown, The Punisher, Purple Rain, the Rocky Heavyweight Collection. This has every film in the Rocky series from 1 through 5, and Rocky Balboa as well. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, Ronin, Room, Scarface Steelbook Edition, Scooby-Doo, Run Lola Run, Safe House, Salem's Lot, Saturday Night Fever, still hasn't been opened yet. Got it at FYE apparently. Saving Mr. Banks, a movie that I like less and less the more I think about it. I think, again, I got it at a pawn shop for maybe $1 or $2. Saving Private Ryan, Say Anything, one of my favorite romantic movies. The Saw Collection, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and Scream. I gotta tell you guys about this movie, this collection that I bought, because I feel like I was scammed. I bought the 5-feature Scream collection, so I was like, yeah, it's probably got the first 4 Scream movies, then like a documentary. No, it's got Scream 1, 2, 3, and then 2 documentaries, so it doesn't even have Scream 4. What a sham, guys. I was duped. Scrooged. I was Scrooged. Secret Life of Walter Mitty, Secret Window, Selma, A Serious Man, Seven, one of my favorite David Fincher movies, 7 Psychopaths, The 7-Year Itch, The Shape of Water, The Shawshank Redemption Steelbook, my favorite movie of all time, Shazam! Little lenticular. Isn't that kind of cool? Oh, there it is. Boop, boop, boop. Sherlock Holmes, as well as Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, The Shining, my favorite horror film, Shoot 'Em Up, Shutter Island, Sicario, Silver Linings Playbook, Sin City, Sing Street, one of my favorite movies, Sinister, Singing in the Rain, my favorite musical and one of my favorite movies, The Silence of the Lambs, The Sixth Sense, Sleepwalkers. This movie's crazy. Have you guys seen this movie? It is really wild. If you haven't, watch around Halloween time, have a good time, have a couple drinks. It's crazy. Slumdog Millionaire, Smokey and the Bandit, Snitch, Snowpiercer, The Social Network, Source Code, Some Like It Hot, one of my favorite comedies, South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Southpaw on Steelbook. Not a big fan of the movie, but this is a really, really cool Steelbook. And everybody get up, it's time for Space Jam on Steelbook. I Am Spartacus. Spartacus. Spawn. Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and The Amazing Spider-Man. No, I don't have The Amazing Spider-Man 2 because why the hell would I? Split, Spotlight, Spring Breakers, Spy, Saint Vincent, Stand By Me, Stargate, Star Trek, Star Trek Into Darkness, as well as Star Trek Beyond. And nobody's surprised, but I have Star Wars the prequel trilogy, as well as Star Wars the original trilogy. Now, I have 2 copies of each of these films. I have the Despecialized editions and the Special Edition editions that Disney and Lucasfilm released with all of the special edition changes. I want the original cut, so I have the Despecialized editions. Star Wars The Force Awakens, as well as The Last Jedi, one of the greatest Star Wars movies of all time, Rogue One, and Solo: A Star Wars Story, as well as Season 1 of Star Wars Rebels. I'd like to have the other seasons as well as Clone Wars, but they are very pricey. Steve Jobs, Step Brothers, Storks, The Sting, Straw Dogs, Straight Outta Compton, and Suicide Squad. I got this movie for really cheap, but I still think I paid too much, even though I probably paid $1 or $2. I hate this movie, but I own it for, I guess, the pain I'm going to inflict on myself whenever I watch it. Sunset Boulevard, one of my favorite classic films. Super. I have the Superman collection with Superman 1, 2, and Superman Returns. I would really love to buy this collection that has 3 and 4 as well, because those movies are absolutely hilarious to watch. Super 8, Super Bad, Swingers, Swiss Army Man, The Switch, Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Taken, and then we have The Taking of Fallon 1, 2, 3, the original and the remake. Tangled, Ted, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, Terminator Part 1 and Part 2. Good thing they never made another Terminator movie after that. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as well as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the reboot. Again, the reason that I have this in the DVD case is because there's some cool book information that couldn't quite fit in the Blu-ray. Not to mention, it turns into a whole chainsaw. There'll Be Blood, one of my favorite movies. They Live, Steelbook Edition. The Thing, This Is the End. Thor, Thor the Dark World, and Thor Ragnarok. Thoroughbreds. Thunder Road, directed by Jim Cummings, a really, really funny, sweet, touching movie. Titanic, Tommy Boy. Total Recall, The Towering Inferno, The Town, The Toxic Avenger, Toy Story. This is a really old Blu-ray, that's why it looks like a DVD. I would like to buy the entire collection and have Toy Story 4 as well, now that that's out. Train to Busan, Trainwreck, Training Day, Transformers, the first one, and I don't give a shit about the others because they're terrible. The Transporter, Trick or Treat, one of my favorite movies to watch around Halloween time. 999. Tron Legacy. I don't have the original Tron, but I would really like to. Tropic Thunder. The Truman Show, my favorite movie that came out in the year of my birth. True Grit. Tusk. Unknown. Unforgiven. Underworld. The Usual Suspects. V for Vendetta, Vacation, Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets, The Visit. Now, this is the only kind of Blu-ray that I have like this, and it's because I don't really like buying them, but it's one of my older Blu-rays that I have, and it's this Mark Wahlberg collection, complete with The Fighter, Shooter, and 4 Brothers. The Wailing, The Walk, A Walk Among the Tombstones. One of my favorite parody movies with Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. I love this movie because it so thoroughly destroys the genre that it's parodying, so much so that it kind of keeps me from watching new music biopics because it does so thoroughly. Walking Tall, Wall Street, Wanted, War Dogs, War Horse, Warm Bodies, Warrior, The Watch, Watchmen, We're the Millers, Wedding Crashers, Weird Science, Wet Hot American Summer, When Harry Met Sally, White Christmas, White Men Can't Jump, Whiplash, Wind River, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factories. This movie makes me feel all warm inside. I love this movie. The Witch, a movie that doesn't make me feel all warm inside. Winter's Bone, The Wizard of Oz, the 70th anniversary. The Wolf of Wall Street, one of my favorite Scorsese movies. Wonder Woman, World War Z, The Wrestler. Then we have quite a few X-Men movies with X-Men, X-Men 2 Steelbook, X-Men 3 The Last Stand, X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, The Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine, and then Logan. I don't have Deadpool over with the X-Men movies because it feels so disjointed from everything else. At least with Logan, it's a part of the X-Men universe. Like you have Charles Xavier and Wolverine in it, so it feels a little bit more connected. Yes Man, You Were Never Really Here, You Are Next, Young Frankenstein, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, Zero Dark 30, Zodiac, Zombieland, Zoolander, and Zootopia. Now that does it for all of the regular Blu-rays that I have, but I have some Criterion films, my prized possessions, and these will be in order how they are, they're numbered at the bottom of the spine. We have Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, Le Diabolique, Charade, La Aventura, Ikiru, David Cronenberg's Videodrome, House, Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, my favorite black and white film, 12 Angry Men, Rosemary's Baby, and It Happened One Night. Well, that does it for every single Blu-ray I have. That's a little gift from me to you, you guys who have been supporting my channel all of these years. I really greatly appreciate it. So let me know down in the comments how many movies you think I have, because I have a pretty fair guess. And if you want to keep a running track of some of the Blu-rays that I have, you can follow me on Letterboxd, where every single time I buy a Blu-ray, I add it to a running list of Blu-rays that I already have. So which of my Blu-rays is your favorite? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you liked today's video. And if you did, you can click on the link down below, and you can subscribe to my channel to see more movie reviews and movie related things. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.